Good morning, sixth graders. I hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to say good morning to Ari and to Aiden and to Josiah. I miss you guys. I miss all of you guys, but looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys on Thursday and Friday. So let's begin. This is Wednesday's reading with page 190. The answer to number 4 on your green packets right here. It kind of looks like a 14, but it's a 4. All right. Don't forget to choose your own vocab word as we're going along. And it'll be for next week, but that way you can just keep your eyes open.
Tuesday, 28 March 1944. Dearest Kitty, I could write a lot more about politics, but I have heaps of other things to tell you today. First, Mummy has more or less forbidden me to go upstairs so often, because according to her, Mrs. Von Don is jealous. Secondly, Pater has invited Margot to join us upstairs. I don't know whether it's just out of politeness or whether he really means it. Thirdly, I went and asked Daddy if he thought I need pay any regard to Mrs. Von Don's jealousy, and he didn't think so. What next? Mommy is cross, perhaps jealous too. Daddy doesn't grudge us these times together, and thinks it's nice that we get on so well. Margot is fond of Pater too, but feels that two's company and three's a crowd.
This is also going to be an answer to the next set of questions that we're going over. So I want to see if you guys can figure it out in the comments. Why is Mrs. Von Don jealous? Why is she jealous of Anne? Of course, she just doesn't need one more thing to get her feathers ruffled about, but let's continue.
Mummy thinks that Pater is in love with me. Quite frankly, I only wish he were. Then we'd be quits and really be able to get to know each other. She also says that he keeps on looking at me. Now, I suppose that's true, but still I can't help it if he looks at my dimples and we wink at each other occasionally, can I? I'm in a very difficult position. Mummy is against me, and I'm against her. Daddy closes his eyes and tries not to see the silent battle between us. Mummy is sad because she does really love me, while I'm not in the least bit sad because I don't think she understands. And Pater. I don't want to give Pater up. He's such a darling. I admire him so. It can grow into something beautiful between us. Why do the old ones have to poke their noses in all the time? Luckily, I'm quite used to hiding my feelings, and I manage extremely well not to let them see how mad I am about him. Will he ever say anything? Will I ever feel his cheek against mine, like I felt Pater's cheek in my dream? Oh, Pater and Pater, you are one and the same. They don't understand us. Won't they ever grasp that we are happy, just sitting together and not saying a word? They don't understand what has driven us together like this. Oh, when will all these difficulties be overcome? And yet it is good to overcome them, because then the end will be all the more wonderful. When he lies with his head on his arm with his eyes closed, then he is still a child. When he plays with Bo, she is loving. When he carries potatoes or anything heavy, then he is strong. When he goes and watches the shooting or looks for burglars in the darkness, then he is brave. And when he is so awkward and clumsy, then he is just like a pet.
So I wish that I could go back real quickly and find you the first spot where Anne is talking about her mom and how they don't understand one another and how the dad doesn't agree with Anne on how she feels. But we're still almost at the end of the book. We're having the same discussion. Her feelings for her mom haven't changed. They have matured a little bit to where she doesn't want to hurt her mom, but they still have that relationship that's just not very close. I liked this part over here because oftentimes we think that, well, maybe not you guys, but grown-ups think that relationships between kids, although she is definitely a teenager, are cute, or sometimes I remember having crushes and thinking how serious it was and nobody understood, and my parents definitely didn't understand. But this is a little bit different. They don't understand us. They won't ever grasp that we are happy just sitting together, not saying a word. They don't understand what has driven us together like this. What does that mean? What has driven them together like this? They're not just a boy and a girl in high school. They're not just maybe neighbors, but they're two Jewish teenagers in hiding, going through the Holocaust, living every day in constant fear of being caught and sent to a concentration camp. So they're sharing something very unique and something very scary. And again, Anne's finally found someone that she can be herself with, and to her that means everything. So they are definitely living in different circumstances. And I like that her dad is happy for her, that maybe he understands that this may be the only chance that she has to have this kind of relationship. He often knows more than he lets on, so he might know that they may be getting closer to being found. So I have an interesting picture from the graphic novel on how everybody has an opinion about her and Peter, and then I have a picture of this one, so I'll show you guys after this video of what he looks like in all of his different situations.
I like it much better if he explains something to me than when I have to teach him. I would really adore him to be my superior at almost everything. What do we care about the two mothers? Oh, but if only he would speak. Yours, Anna. Wednesday, 29 March 1944. Dear Kitty, Bolkestein, an MP, was speaking on the Dutch news from London, and he said that they ought to make a collection of diaries and letters after the war. Of course, they all made a rush at my diary immediately. Just imagine how interesting it would be if I were to publish a romance of the secret annex. The title alone would be enough to make people think it was a detective story.
Did you guys get chills when she said that? How interesting would it be if I were to publish a romance of the secret annex? The title alone would be enough to make people think it was a detective story. It is just heartwarming that this does get published, that her angst and her feelings and her introspections weren't lost, that we have them and they were published. And I know we all wish that she could know how popular her book has become and how meaningful it's been to millions of people around the world.
Footnote. The original title of this diary was Het Achteries. There is no exact translation into English, the nearest being the secret annex.
So remember, that is the name of it in Dutch, Het Achteries, the house behind. And so that's why we call it the secret annex in English.
But seriously, it would seem quite funny 10 years after the war if we Jews were to tell how we lived and what we ate and talked about here. Although I tell you a lot, still, even so, you only know very little of our lives.
Do you guys agree with that? Do we know very little of their lives? I feel like we know what everybody's thinking and feeling and eating, and we know where they take baths and how often they use the restroom. But maybe this is true. What do you guys think?
How scared the ladies are during the air raids. For instance, on Sunday, when 350 British planes dropped 500,000 kilos of bombs on Weeden, how the houses trembled like a wisp of grass in the wind. And who knows how many epidemics now rage. You don't know anything about all these things, and I would need to keep on writing the whole day if I were to tell you everything in detail. People have to line up for vegetables and all kinds of other things. Doctors are unable to visit the sick because if they turn their backs on their cars for a moment, they are stolen. Burglaries and thefts abound, so much so that you wonder what has taken hold of the Dutch for them suddenly to have become such thieves. Little children of 8 and 11 years break the windows of people's homes and steal whatever they can lay their hands on. No one dares to leave his house unoccupied for 5 minutes, because if you go, your things go too. Every day there are announcements in the newspapers offering rewards for the return of lost property, typewriters, Persian rugs, electric clocks, cloth, etc., etc. Electric clocks in the streets are dismantled. Public telephones are pulled to pieces, down to the last thread. Morale among the population can't be good. The weekly rations are not enough to last for 2 days, except the coffee substitute. The invasion is a long time coming, and the men have to go to Germany. The children are ill or undernourished. Everyone is wearing old clothes and old shoes. A new sole costs 7.5 florins in the black market. Moreover, hardly any of the shoemakers will accept shoe repairs, or if they do, you have to wait months, during which time the shoes often disappear. There's one good thing in the midst of it all, which is that as the food gets worse and the measures against the people more severe, so sabotage against the authorities steadily increases. The people in the food offices, the police, officials, they all either work with their fellow citizens and help them, or they tell tales on them and have them sent to prison. Fortunately, only a small percentage of Dutch people are on the wrong side. Yours, Anna.
I underlined sabotage because that's going to be one of the vocab words next week, so you can get a head start on that. One of the great things about her diary is that she gives us a snapshot, not just into how they were living inside the annex, but what it was like outside. Now, she has a very limited view. She can only see what she sees from the windows or what the protectors tell them, but it's chaotic. It is very dangerous. You can't leave your house without fear of your house being broken into and your things taken. You can't even go to the doctor with your vehicle. For the fear of that it's going to be taken or stolen. They don't have enough food. A week's rations, not even enough for 2 days, except for the coffee substitute. She says, that would be really hard for me not to have coffee. So it's very tough. So this might give her another feeling of thankfulness to be safe inside the annex, at least for a little while. Another good word for your vocab word next week, if you want to choose undernourished. All right, well, that concludes our section for today, and then we'll continue later on. Have a very blessed day.